What's up, guys? We have a special episode for you guys today. We want to welcome that Leafs fan that's going to be helping us kick off our Stanley Cup Playoffs Cup or Bust series that we're starting heading up to the 2022 Stanley Cup Playoffs. So, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us today. and
Pleasure, my man.
Thank you. And obviously, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the Toronto Maple Leafs and how far they're going to be going this year, especially with how deep the East is. And having you today coming on our podcast to discuss from the Toronto Maple Leafs perspective, like, how far can they possibly go, and like what pieces are going to enable them to get to the Stanley Cup finals. So just want to start off by saying, obviously Auston Matthews is the franchise player on that roster right now, having a fantastic season. He's gonna pass 50 goals, no doubt in my mind. And but in terms of like Auston Matthews, do you think he has what it takes to carry this team on his back as far as possible in the playoffs?
Um, that I'm gonna have to see for myself in the first round, but based off the way he's played this season, something I've noticed is a much better two-way player and someone who's finally using the fact that he's 6'3", 220. He's actually making use of that now. So like he just looks like he wants it more, which is like a good sign because in the years prior, like he had the talent, but there was that missing piece, and it was like that kind of like last year in the series, he gets tugged, laughs a bit, not what you want. But at this year, he looks like a lot more like get out of my way kind of thing. So in
So
that
definitely
sense,
taking more
like
charge this
Yeah,
year.
and
took a step in the right direction, in my opinion, for sure.
well, and I think too, like you mentioned Austin Matthews. I mean, look, in previous years too, like I think the Leafs for a long time, especially and I'm gonna bring back the Habs series last year because I think it's a good example of it. They to me they kind of looked like they were a soft team. They weren't really necessarily playing the aggressive style hockey that everybody expected them to be, and I think that this year, you see a little bit more physicality from Matthews. You see it from even guys like Marner. I think Tavares too has been a little bit physical in the games that I've watched. So I think the Leafs are tougher to play against this year too. So I'm curious to see how they do in the playoffs. That's something that's really going to be interesting to see moving forward. But
For sure.
yeah,
I actually have a question for you. I want to hear this from a Leafs fan. Do you think that if John Tavares wasn't injured, they would have beaten the Habs?
Absolutely.
Really? So you really think it's just John Tavares that changed the whole, series?
I no, I think we got beat by a one-man show.
You think it's
Actually,
Carey
no, let me
Price?
clarify. I think the Leafs lost that series. I don't think the Habs won that series. That's no disrespect to the Habs playoff run. You guys went on it, but I think the Leafs lost that series.
I mean I
Well,
agree. I mean I agree with that. I mean like Carey Price pretty much bailed the Habs out of
Yeah.
that series. Like it's pretty obvious.
but I mean, another factor I would say that really hurt the Leafs, especially in Game 7, was Muzzin being injured and him not being able to play. And having a guy that's really good in terms of defensive play on that decor, knowing that, like, Morgan Riley's not the best defensive defenseman, he's more of an offensive defenseman. Having Muzzin out, especially in a crucial game like that, which they're known for losing game sevens, and that's no disrespect to the Leafs. It's happened more than once. Um,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
It's
mean, for me, that was the dagger in the heart for the Toronto Maple Leafs' chances of beating the Habs last playoff run.
It's the killer instinct. That's what it is. We saw it in Game 7, 2013, Game 7, 2018. Uh, we didn't see it in the Caps Leaf series in 2017, the first year of the run with like the
Yeah.
whole new team. But that's what they're missing. It's that they're good, they're very good, and it's kind of like the best way I can put it is we lost to the Habs Saturday, we beat the Panthers yesterday. Like
Yeah.
it's when they're supposed to win, they don't. When they're not supposed to win, they do. And that's why like they're not a normal. I don't consider the Leafs like a normal franchise. They
So you think, based off that statement, if they face either Florida or Tampa Bay in the first round, you think that we're going to see a team that is going to have a lot more success in that series compared to a series against Montreal last year, because they're going to have that killer instinct, because they know that this is a very competitive team. Maybe even on paper, they have a better team than the Leaves, so they have no choice to show up, or else they're going to get swept in 4 games.
two answers to that. One, It's the Leafs, so there's always going to be that pressure of round one. That's no
Yeah.
doubt. However, that being said, from what I've seen, when the Leafs are seen as the underdog team, it for some reason like let's be honest, this year we're either playing Tampa, Boston, Florida, or Carolina in round one. Not one of those teams are bad, like not one, and I don't mind that. I
I
don't
see.
mind that because
I see them beating the Leafs. I mean, sorry, I see the Leafs beating either Boston or Carolina. Honestly, with the team
I
that they
would
have right
love
now,
to play the Panthers. I would love to play the
it's more
Panthers.
your goalie situation that's kind
Yeah,
of questionable when it
let me
comes to
ask
going
you.
into the playoffs.
Let me ask you that. So, obviously, we know that at the trade deadline, there was a lot of rumors and a lot of talk about how the Leafs should have added a goalie. And obviously, I don't know if you heard that there was rumors about Marc-Andre Fleury potentially going to Toronto. And I mean, my question to you is, as a Leaf fan, watching the goaltending situation this year with Jack Campbell being injured and being inconsistent, with Mrazek, being Mrazek essentially, and with now Shalgren coming in and looking pretty decent, are you confident with the goalie situation going into a 7-game series against the top 4 teams that you mentioned, Carolina, Tampa, Boston, and Florida, that you think the Leafs could come out of that series because of their goaltending, or do you think it's going to take a collective effort altogether?
That's what we got. It's gonna have to be, and I turn it right back around to like playoffs is a different beast. Last year, like you guys are all Habs fans, you should not
Yeah.
have been in the final, but you
That's
made it.
true. That's true.
That's true.
Playoffs is a different game, and
They shouldn't even have been in the playoffs. If it would have been the original format, the Rangers would have made the playoffs instead of the Habs. So I
and
mean,
like what I think about it is sure, like in the past couple games, like yesterday, it was Mrazek's best game as a Leaf. And I'm not saying like I don't believe the Leafs need a Carey Price in net, although it would be nice. I think we need league average goaltending. And in the past 2 months, they haven't got that. But at the beginning of the year, we had that and more. So I know they're both capable. Campbell last year in the first round showed he was capable. And again, I'm not saying by any means is he Carey Price or by any means is he a Vasilevsky at all. But I think if we can get like league average, which is like what a 2.6 goals against per game, it's about 5 goals every 2 games. I think the Leafs can match that. And you look at Florida too, like yesterday, like Spencer Knight's not there yet. Tampa Vasilevsky, yeah, he's there, but we always play good versus Tampa, so I wouldn't mind that match. Like you're going in the playoffs, the East is like whoever wins the East is gonna win the cup.
yeah.
If they don't get battered like injuries, but
Yeah, I actually have a
it's
question now. So you're
what's
you're
up?
telling me that because I'm not a big fan of the way Kyle Dubas built this team or whoever previous managers, the one that made all the draft picks and whatnot.
Lou
But
Lamoriello.
Lou Lamoriello, it's very offensive. Like the power is coming from the offense. It's not very defensive, and I see hockey as you have to build your back before you start building your forwards to win. I feel like that's all the great Stanley Cup winning teams. It's usually because of defense, and yeah, they have a few. They have their powerhouse scorers, obviously. But do you think that having the forward core that they have now with the kind of okay defense and like basically no, let's be honest, no goaltending, that they could make it far? They wouldn't get knocked out like they have previously. Like you still think this experiment that he's trying to pull is gonna work?
I like Giordano a lot, and everyone's gonna be like, "Why he's
Yeah,
a rusted bag of pucks?"
he's a
Like,
good piece. But Dermott too was good. I didn't have a problem. He was playing well.
bro, no,
No, he
Giordano,
wasn't. No, he
He was playing
wasn't.
no
okay.
Giordano, bro,
No, he
no,
wasn't.
no.
He's no Giordano, but why wouldn't you want to keep him for the playoffs?
Dude,
You need that. You need
did
that
you see the
depth.
giveaway to Paul
Did you
Byron
watch?
last year?
No, forget that one. Did you see when the shots were 17-1 in overtime and the one pass was by Dermott given right to Kotkaniemi to score that?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
that
forgetting
one.
that.
Yeah. That's the one I meant.
How
It's
he's a young player though, right?
yeah, he's been young for like 5 years now, and he's not really like I
Okay,
like him. I like Dermott,
If I'm
and
mistaken, he's
I
24 years old or 25 right
24.
now.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
24. I wish him the best in Vancouver. I think he'll be a good fit there. But it comes back to it again. It's like like okay, let me tell you the defense prior to the deadline: Riley, Brody, Muzzin Hall, Sandine, and whoever. Now let me say them again after the deadline. It's going to be Riley Labushkin, possibly the second. Then the first would be like it could be an alternative between both Giordano Brody, Muzzin Sandin, Muzzin Liljegren, Muzzin Hall, like, and that's to go on top of the fact that for once our whole team is there, like it's healthy. Michael Bunting is looking gross on that first line. Mikheyev is finally this, like his hands are
Perfect
catching up to
Zach
his
Hyman
feet.
replacement, and at a discount too.
Big
So
discount, and like it's the truth of the matter is there's no easy way out of the first round. Like no matter who you play against, and stats at the end of the day, like I don't give a shit. Can we score more goals than the other team in the game? And on top of that, what I saw is they played the Panthers. They took a 3-2 lead into the third period and they closed it. Can you do that in the playoffs? Because that's what's gonna make the difference. At the end of the day, like you saw the Penguins run in what was it, 2017? Like they had like a 4 goals against average in the playoffs, but they scored 7 every game. Like
Yeah.
it changes every year, and there's only like yes, goaltending needs to be there, but again, I think if it's league average goaltending from whoever the hell decides to go in net, don't care who it is. I think
So
with the team that they have like the capability of going forward, I don't see why why not the Leafs compared to anyone else.
So my
Not
follow-up
thinking
question
of the
would
years back.
be, if they do get knocked out in the first round, I hope not. Honestly, I'd like to see them make it far. Winning a Stanley Cup, I'm not a big fan of that idea.
But adding to what Chris is saying right now too, like I don't hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. I never did because like at the end of the day, I'm
You never have
biased in
to.
terms of like having a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. It's been too
Yeah.
long. It's been since 1993. Whether it's Toronto, Winnipeg, or so on, I just want to see a Canadian team win the cup as opposed to seeing an American team. And people are like, oh, the Habs and Toronto, it's a big
Maybe
rival.
not the Leafs then.
Well, like for me, in terms of hockey, anyone you play is considered a rival because they're the opposing team. You have to beat them in order to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So
Yeah.
so like for me, and then you look at where Toronto's at, you look at where Montreal is at, is that rival still there? No, the rival is only going to be there once both teams are competitive or when both teams are absolute crap. When
No, I
they're
disagree with that one.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
there's always a rivalry.
I don't know, that's how I see it.
Just Saturday when the Habs beat the Leafs, like you could see
That
the
was the
trolling.
Habs season right there. That was like the
you
highlight of
understand?
the Habs season.
But like he's not wrong though. Like Habs fans love trolling Leaf fans regardless. Like we could be last place and we're trolling Leaf fans because they took 51 shots and scored 2 goals, and we won by taking 18 shots. Like Habs fans and Leaf fans don't get along, and I don't think they
You
ever will.
see, but I'd rather the Leafs lose that game and win the game they won yesterday than it being vice versa, because in a month the Habs are not relevant, the Panthers are.
Yeah,
Therefore, I
true.
care a lot more
You're
about beating a
using,
team like the Panthers.
Well,
You're using
my-
Steve Dangle's quote, huh? I watched the LFR too.
Yeah,
I-
exactly. No, but it's like it's the epitome. Like Toronto is such, they mold the other team. Like
Yeah.
if you're playing a shit team, they're gonna play like shit. If you're like, dude, they lost to the Sabres twice, the Habs twice, they lost to the Coyotes. They beat Tampa, Florida, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Minnesota, like, and the list goes on in the last like month and a half. Like they beat the good teams and they lose versus the bad ones. That's perfect because in the playoffs there is no bad teams. They're all good. So
That's true.
in that
Let me-
sense, yeah, go for it.
Let me ask you something. So actually, I noticed this the other day when they were playing the Habs, but and there was a lot of talk about, I think during the interview or whatever, that Sheldon Keefe called out William Nylander. And to me, I want to ask you this as a Leaf fan because I know he gets a lot of flack for the way he plays sometimes.
Too much.
I like
flack,
William
to be honest.
Nylander.
He's very underrated.
I think he's a fantastic hockey player. I think Leaf fans don't give him enough credit sometimes. I find they're very hard on him, at least in my opinion. What are your thoughts on Nylander? How do you think like he's a guy that if the Leafs lose in the first round this year, do you think that he could be a trade asset going into the offseason? What's your thoughts on him in general as a player?
Clicky, very clicky. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. Like but that being said, he's proven that he can turn on at the right time. He's a $7 million player. He's exactly a $7 million player in that he can do it. The only thing is you're not paying him to guarantee to do that all the time. Whereas someone like Matthews is getting 11 million, he cannot have a bad game. Like Nylander's gonna have a bad game every now and then, but he's a $7 million player. Auston Matthews is like an $11.5 million player. He cannot have a bad game. Like he cannot, because just him, if he has a bad game, we're playing with a $70 million team just off like alone right away. So
See,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. What are you saying? Sorry, continue.
That being said, I like Nylander's net front presence. I think he's solid on the puck. I think sometimes he's a very smooth skater, like a very smooth skater that can come off as being lazy in his own end. He he kind of strides. He is skating quick, but it doesn't look like it because he's kind of just like, like there's not the quick steps or none of that. It's just like he's very smooth on it. So it's again clicky. Like we just need him to click on. We need to be on the right side of the click. Hopefully, like come playoff time, and I think we'll be fine. Yesterday, like you saw him putting effort. It was a bit of it was a messy game for him, call it. But I'm not worried about someone like that. Like again, it's like he knows what he has to do. He's made the NHL. He's on a $7 million contract. He's a point per game. Like he knows what he has to do, and like it's not like something I'd worry about. Not right now.
Do you think that because like there's been a lot of rumors as well too in the past that like, oh, if the Leafs don't make it out of the first round this year, you got to trade one of the core four. If they were to ever trade one of the core four, do you think they would trade Nylander before everybody else?
I think they have a core five. To be honest, I put Morgan Riley up there.
Riley's never gonna get traded.
He just signed. He just signed an
8-year
No,
contract.
I'm saying. They, everybody says that they have a big four, but Morgan Riley, I think is a big part of.
I'm saying core four in terms of like the offense. That's
Riley, Marner, and Matthews are never gonna get traded, in my opinion.
I think they should trade John Tavares. I think that was a big mistake signing him.
They can't. I know they can't.
You disagree, really?
100%.
You're the first Maple Leafs fan to tell me that, actually.
And I'll explain why. Number one, he's a shield to Matthews and Marner. People can shit on him before shitting on those two, and he can take it. Two, he's a captain, and he's a good one at that because he's quiet. Three, he does all the little things that your casual fans won't notice because they don't watch every game. Yeah. Like, he's always in front of the net. He literally is huge. Like, he took on Ratko Gudas yesterday against the Panthers and literally completely face washed the shit out of him.
I met that guy, by the way. He's a monster.
He's big.
He's a monster. Eats like one too.
He's quiet. He's quiet. I think he's not flashy. He's not he's quiet. He gets on the ice. He does what he has to do. He's quiet. And I think it was underrated how much he was missed in last year's playoff. Really underrated because he's not the quickest, but you three can go on the ice right now. Have fun getting you three versus him. Try getting the puck off of him. I wish you the best of luck.
Listen, I think an ECHL player could take all three of us. I don't like to be started on John Tavares.
No, but it's figure of speech, in the sense that it's obviously people are going to shit on him. Obviously, $11 million is too much, but
it's the age the problem.
I don't think so because he's still a point per game this year. He's still very well a point per. He's at 60 points or 55.
See, the problem is in terms of Tavares is that maybe Toronto fans, the ones that don't like John Tavares, they're always gonna bring this up, and I totally disagree with them. John Tavares is not as flashy as he used to be with the Islanders. Well, there's a reason why he's not as flashy because he was the only guy on that team apart from Kalek Poso that was doing something on a really poor structured Islanders team that didn't go anywhere before Lou Lamoriello came in, before Trotz came in. But unfortunately, John Tavares was not able to be under that that management. So he comes in, plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's playing behind Matthews and Marner, right? So it's of course people are not going to notice him as much because now he's being surrounded by players at the same level as him, or even a little bit better. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, he doesn't have that much of a presence, but I disagree with that. I think the role that he's in right now is perfect for him. And I totally agree that he is a fantastic captain and stuff. And it's unfortunate that people don't see the things that he does do, and instead they're criticizing him for the things that he doesn't do. But how much do you really want him to really do in terms of being a captain? There's so the responsibility does not only fall on him just because he wears a C on his shirt. It's more of a collective thing. And whether if he was going to be there or not, I still feel that he would have got the blame for why Toronto did not pass the first round last year.
The Leafs fans that I've spoken to or that I hear conversations when they talk it's not that they're it's not that they don't like the the point, the not scoring or the not doing this and that. I think he's a talented player, and I think they think that too. I think it's more that their cap is
Contract sucks.
their
Yeah,
the contract sucks for the amount of cap space that they have right now because of him. And you know what, you lose Hyman because of that, which I mean,
I
listen,
wouldn't want
Bunting is
Hyman at
better.
6 million though.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Bunting is better. I mean,
Bunting's playing better.
But let's be
but
honest.
there's
No
other
disrespect to
defensemen or
Hyman, by the
goalies
way.
that you could get too.
No, I mean
for-
Hyman had a career year last season playing
Yeah.
on the first line with Matthews and Marner, and I'm not saying Dubas took a risk, but like you never know what you could get in a player like Michael Bunting, and Michael Bunting has shown that he's the ideal replacement on that first line, taking over Hyman's minutes, and I'm not saying I think he's a fantastic GM, but it it's the moves that he does not make that kind of worry me in terms of like where Toronto goes and not addressing certain needs. And I feel like he's just a guy that loves to add offense and he knows that he needs to address his defensive situation, but he kind of like ignores it in a sense.
Well, not
And, like,
really.
I would have to say though, like, I get it, especially like in the past few years, but this year he did what he had to do. He got Giordano, he got Labushkin, he got a depth forward in Blackwell, and he tried to get Fleury.
My
yeah,
and he
those are
went 3 for
fantastic
4.
moves, and it didn't even cost him a first round pick. So, and he gets rid of Nick Ritchie's contract as well, which is a huge win. I think they won that deal, the Labushkin deal, hands down.
Yeah, because Labushkin's
Forget, for,
playing.
yeah, forget the single, like whatever, that's irrelevant. That was just a
I'm
contract
surprised. I'm
bump.
surprised that Arizona made that deal. Labushkin's actually fucking solid.
Yeah, he's a good defenseman.
Like very
Fucking
underrated.
solid. I wouldn't say.
I think he's a big guy. That's a big body. I think he's
Yeah.
good.
It's something that
Yeah, for
Toronto
sure.
lacked in
I
terms
wouldn't-
of
I
defensive
wouldn't put.
play.
I don't see him as like a top like he's not playing. I don't think he should be playing first line D. But he's a good guy.
No,
to have
but
just some
think of Eric Carlson and Borowiecki or
Yeah.
Mathot. Like by having someone like Labushkin, who's obviously not a first line defenseman at all, but with someone like him who's like a moldable defenseman, you can
Yeah.
split the lines, and now we have 3 relevant defensive lines instead of having Martin Marinson and like Cody Ceci on our third line. Like we can spread Giordano, Riley, Muzzin on 3 different lines. So now we have one reliable on each. TJ Brody locks up one pair. You have Labushkin, who's shown like he can hang back and he can step up too. And then you have Liljegren, Sandin, and Hall that you can swap out whoever. And I think Hall's gonna stay. I'm not a big fan of Hall, I'll be honest. No disrespect to him. Like
Fans are not a big
One
he's just
thing-
soft. He's like 6'4" and he plays like he's 5'3". That's the thing. That's the
Yeah.
one thing that pisses me off going into the
But-
playoffs, especially.
One thing I wanted to say
Yeah.
actually, and I think I don't know if you'll agree with me on this or not, but I think this is the best Leafs team we've seen in the last 5 years in terms of all-round team. And I think the reason I'm saying that is because I think if you look at the past years, right, like last year, they kind of had a similar team, but their D wasn't really the best, and obviously they had injuries to Tavares and Muzzin and whatnot in the playoffs, so it obviously affected them. But I'm saying this year, going into the playoffs, you've got yourself Giordano, who's got experience. Your forward core looks a lot better with Bunting there, and obviously Blackwell, you guys added as well. Matthew Nyes and Abruzzese apparently are supposed to even come up and play a few games for the Leafs as well. There's
Not
Nick
this year, though.
Robertson. So the Leafs have a lot of really good depth players. I think this is the best team all around for the Leafs.
Well, they added Kemp, they added Cass as
Yeah,
well.
That's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. What
Yeah.
Chris just said is the most underrated thing in Toronto. It's that
Yeah.
line. That
And I think-
shutdown line is huge.
That's it. And I think too with like
Then they didn't
Mikheyev-
cost them much either. They
I
got them
think-
at a good price.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Mikheyev's playing like out of his mind, like I'm watching like I don't watch Leafs games that much, but like just based on highlights, like this guy's got wheels, like it's
He's had
crazy.
them. Yeah.
It's nuts, and like he's playing really well, and I think he's on pace for, like I was reading something, he's on pace for like 30 goals or something.
No,
Like
no. He
25?
scored his 14th yesterday, so I would say
Yeah,
he's
so,
gonna
like-
finish around the 18-19 mark.
But that's
Something like-
like for a guy
Yeah.
who had wrist surgery, like that's pretty good, especially
Yeah, it's solid.
yeah.
Well, because anyone reaching near 20 under the top 4, like add to it. Let's go. And
That's
the
it.
thing is that the third line and not to mention Kasha's out. When he comes back, the
Yeah.
Kasha, Mikheyev Kampf or sorry, Kasha Kampf and Mikheyev, or switch that with Engvall, who's actually started to play like a NHL player this year finally. It's like that line is huge because you can play them versus the other team's first line. So then we have Matthews and Tavares line playing against not the first line. And even if we match one of them, we have one of them that's freed up against the other team's third on a home ice night, of course. But
do you think just a random question? Do you think the Leafs should have protected McCann or Kerfoot at the expansion draft?
Kerfoot.
Yeah,
we didn't. McCann, $5 million would never fit in Toronto. 5.5 actually. Like I love him, I do.
And people don't take that into consideration. People just look at the player. They don't look at the contract as well and how much cap space they have. And Toronto's a team that has been going crazy in terms of gymnastics around their cap space. Trying to fit in everybody, and they had no choice to let go of McCann. It's unfortunate that they traded him. I don't know if they used him as a shield to kind of protect guys like Kerfoot and stuff from being exposed, or they really did want to add him.
Seattle was asking for a first and a third to protect a player, and Toronto traded for Evan Rodriguez and McCann for, I think it was a second. I don't fully remember the trade, what it was, but the point is like we paid a lot less to protect Kerfoot and Hall, unfortunately, but we paid like the asking price to protect was a first and a third. We gave up nothing near that. So what people like fail to see is that if we wanted to protect one of our players, we would have had to spend that regardless. Just hand it to them. And what people don't see is the fact that sure, we lost McCann, but no, instead we just protected our players for way less assets. And those are the casual fans again who and I don't blame them. You're not into the stats, you're not into the analytics, you're not going to look at that. You're you just want to see the player's name. Fuck, why did we lose McCann? Oh my God. But it's no, you didn't lose McCann. You lost a second instead of losing a first and a third. And now that's paying off because now we have 3 picks this year instead of having 1.
That's
so,
true.
It's really nice to hear a different perspective, especially from a different fan base, mention all these points, because looking outside of the situation, you're just criticizing everything, right? As a typical NHL fan, right? So so you don't look at the cap. A lot of people that watch the sport don't look at the cap situation. They don't look at the term that players want. A lot
of people think it's like baseball, that there's no cap.
Yeah, there's no salary cap.
1967. Yeah, that's all people look at. That's the facts. 1967. Yep. That's all people give. That's all. And it sucks, but honestly, I don't blame them. I've been around since 2004. It's
I thought our job was bad.
My question to you is: if the Leafs don't get out of the first round this year, do you think major changes are coming?
Absolutely.
And does Kyle Dubas get fired?
That's what I was going to ask, actually.
Probably.
I think this is it's do or die.
Yeah.
Do you think he's a great GM? Because
did
he really build this team? These players did he draft most of them?
No, it was mostly Lou Lamoriello.
No, but he brought up a lot of the young.
I know he signed John Tavares and he traded for Muzzin and whatnot.
No, but it was more he brought up players he raised Nylander, he raised Marner, he raised Justin Hall, he raised Zach Hyman, he raised Travis Dermott. Because he was the coach of the AHL team, or not the coach, sorry.
The GM.
I believe he was the GM, unless I'm confusing Keith being the coach, Sheldon Keith.
Oh, yeah, Keith was the coach and he was the GM.
Yeah, so again, it's kind of of course, people are oh, they succumb to the players and listen to them, to pay the salary. It's okay, what were you going to give Matthews $9 million? No, that's bro. The guy is you can't I think in his position, first of all, with all the pressure of being a 32-year-old, it's crazy the shit he's playing franchise mode, bro. In real life, straight up, and everyone's oh, he's overpowering offense, but it's look at this year, Toronto's plus 42. They do not have a lot of goals against. Granted, they've had some lapses, but it's Toronto. We're gonna have lapses. Every team, you know what? The truth is, every team has lapses. but it's like there's just so many teams that no one cares about enough to remember them. The Leafs, it's just because of their past. Notice how every time we talk about issues in Toronto, it has nothing to do with the present. It's always, but you remember what happened last year? Remember what happened this year? And it
Well,
sucks because we haven't won since then, so it's still relevant. But I think when we win the first round, all that goes out the window. What are we going to say now? You can't win round. Well, we did. Oh, okay, conversation's over.
I think now the only thing that I think fans really like call out, and I'm saying like outside fans, but even like people that follow the Leafs too, is I think the fact that the Leafs for years, and it's not just something that happens now, for years they've struggled to keep leads. It's been a big recurring theme for them.
Yep.
I think that's one thing, and I know every team, goes through struggles like you
No,
mentioned,
Toronto's
and lapses. But Toronto has
3-0
this
lead.
thing where for some reason they just cannot seem to hold a lead. And I
They
feel
don't
like
have
that
the killer instinct. They don't
Yeah.
have. That's why it scares the shit out of me when Toronto gets, like, people laugh, but it's like, think about you being on the ice. When you're winning 1-0, how are you playing? When you're winning 5-0, how are you playing? And like
Yeah.
obviously you shouldn't lose a 5-0 lead or like a 3-0 lead in the NHL, but it's like it's just like science. It's like I have to be invested in a 1-0 game because one mistake, it's over. Your brain is like there is no room for error. 3-0, you give that area where it's 3-0, they score, okay, it's 3-1. They score again, it's 3-2. So that was a 3-0 lead. Sure, you still have the lead, but now you're in the state of oh fuck. Like it's like you're over analyzing. You don't want to make a mistake, and we all know hockey's a game of mistakes. Where the second you don't want to make one is when you make the most, and that's what happens. Which is why I appreciate much closer games than I do blowouts because it forces them to stay into the game with no room to stop. Like
Yeah.
you saw the Leafs in Detroit, they slammed Detroit in 2 periods. If you're winning 7-1 in the NHL heading into the third, don't tell me you're going to be here like, yeah, guys, we have to go in there hard. No chance. You're not thinking that. Like you're celebrating, which is that's the problem. I don't want them to go up 7-1 in the first 2 periods and go into the third. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to even know what can happen. I don't feel comfortable in that. I don't care. Trust me, I've seen all the leads. Like nothing comforts me until the ringer is over. I don't give a shit what the score is. I'd much rather see a 3-2 game because if I'm at the edge of my seat, 3-2 and I'm freaking out, I know they are in the room as well. If I'm like 7-1, the second my mind says, "Oh shit, I don't care," that's when I know like, "Oh, we're fucked. Like we are fucked." 100%.
That's a good way to look at it.
So,
Yeah.
like, honestly, yeah, sorry. You wanted to say something?
No, go for it.
Okay, thanks. In terms of like looking at Toronto, when someone would ask me, how far do you think Toronto is gonna go? For me, there's two things that concern me, and one of them is basically what you mentioned that killer instinct, like how badly they basically want it, especially when they're trailing. Because I feel like when they trail in a game or in a series, I feel like they get PTSD and they start thinking about everything that happened beforehand, and they're like literally like shitting themselves, saying we can't let this happen, and they're overthinking it, and it ruins the game. It ruins the series. It makes them
I
lose
think
the
it's the other way
series.
around.
You really think
I think
so?
it's when they're winning, and I think it's been proven time and time again. We
Well-
were down 3-1 against Boston twice. We came back. We were up in that game. We lost it. We were up 3-1 against Boston. We had the lead. We lost it. We were up against the Habs in a disgusting fashion, and we had the chance. It's the second, like it's that killer thing. It's like now we can end it, and then that's when you like the second you hear tonight can be the night, then that's when it starts to get emotional. That's when you start going back 20 years. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Because when it's 2-1 series, you can win tonight, but you're gonna have to play another game. So it's not
That's
over
it.
yet. It's just like it's hit the books, get it done, get on the ice, one shift at a time. The second it's 3-1 and you can close it, 3-2, you can close it, game 7. That's where it gets complicated because it's like it's kind of like, hey, I point a gun to you. It's cool, like that whole process of pointing it was easy, but now it's like pulling the trigger is like my hand starts to shake. It's the same thing like Toronto. It's like they can get the gun, load the gun, point the gun, but it's pointing the gun. It's like their finger can't hit the trigger. It's like their hands start going like this. So it's in that same sense where I think that's where the pressure gets them. They're like, we can actually do this right now, and it's like they're. Have you ever heard the quote where it says, "We're not scared that we are inadequate. We're scared of what we are capable of as
Yeah,
I've
humans."
never heard of that one
I've heard
before.
of it.
It's not exactly how it worded. It's we do not fear
I saw it on Instagram once. I know what you're talking about though.
Yes.
like the
yes.
inadequacy. We fear like the the power we have within it, or something along those lines. And it's exactly that. It's not that they're scared that they can't do it, because we know they could do it. It's like we've seen it. Last year was a joke. Last year, like Toronto literally put the Habs
I
on a
called
leash for the
it.
first 4 games, and of course, but it was obvious. If you saw my TikTok after Game 5, I'm like, the Leafs lost the series. They were still winning the series, and I said they lost the series. Like,
I think a lot of Leaf fans felt that way too, because I think, look, like they were up 3-1 in the series, right? You go into Game 5, you're down. I believe it was 2-0 they were down, or 3-0 they were down. They ended up
3.
coming back and they ended up coming back and tying that game. And I think a lot of Habs fans, I know myself, watching that game, the Habs were up 3-0. I'm like, okay, this game is pretty much done, right? The Habs are not going to blow it. You have Carey Price and Nets. He doesn't let in 3 goals in a game, and then they do, and you're like, oh shit! And then Galchenyuk makes that mistake, leads to the goal to make it 3-2.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was on the team.
Oh yeah, with that, it's true with the
He
Leafs.
had
I
a
was
good
like,
playoff run with them too.
That's it. He gave the
I'm
puck away.
surprised. I'm surprised he left. Actually,
I mean, they let him
I'm
go. They didn't
so
really want.
fucking happy that he did. Don't come
Bro,
back.
like
really,
He's
he's
a-
a,
bro,
I
he
find,
costed them.
I
He
like
cost
him.
them Game 5. He costed them Game 5.
He did, but
He
he
cost
also
the
was one of their
series.
best players in the series, and so was Jason
No,
Spezza.
he cost the series, bro. I'm sorry. Like, when you can't, like, you're
He
in
gets
overtime,
he
you
gets
can
too much
close
hate.
the game. No, but bro, it's like there's mistakes. Hockey's a game of mistakes. You can't do that. You can't allow a 2-0 in overtime when you can end the series for the first time in 17 years. You can't do that.
And
Hey,
especially
he
when
was
it's
Especially
helping
tough.
his
since you
former
used to
team. What
play
can
for
I
that
say?
team. Nah. And like it sucks. It really does, because obviously he's a human. Like, he obviously didn't want to do that, but it's like you can't do that. Like, you can't, like, I don't want to see you back, in best of luck in your career. I don't hate you, but don't come back.
But that's
I
something he's
can
always
have you
been
back next
criticized
year.
about, his two-way
'Cause
game, that he was not able to play defensive, and a lot
no,
of
Galchenyuk
coaches.
wasn't expected for that though. He
I
was
know,
there to
I
be
know.
like an
The worst part
added.
is he did it in the offensive zone. That's the worst part.
Yeah, he has more. Obviously, he's more associated to being a more offensive player. But like every GM, every coach expects, an offensive guy like that to have somewhat of a defensive, ability to come back when in the opposing zone, or like
Let me ask
maybe
you a
go for a
question.
poke check or something. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Who's the better goal scorer, Ovechkin or Crosby?
Ovechkin.
Ovechkin.
Okay, now if you had to build a team, who are you picking, Ovechkin or Crosby?
Crosby.
Exactly. You want to know why?
He's
Because goal scoring is
well-rounded.
one thing. Making
it's well
players
rounded.
around you and being responsible in your own end is a part of being a forward, and people forget that. That's why Patrice Bergeron is underrated. That's why I'm trying to think of players like Barkov is so underrated. It's disgusting. Nick Suzuki is partly underrated. I think he's still heading there, but not there yet. But he's headed
Yeah,
towards that
Yeah, he's still young.
Patrice Bergeron style of player. And
but you see it. Like you see it with him.
but it's exactly that, which is why I'm so happy with, like, people don't see it this year, because again, I don't give a shit about the season. I'll be honest with you. I don't care if we finish first or eighth. Don't care. I don't care if we finish with 160
How
points
about
or 81
playoff?
and we had the yeah, as long as we're in the playoffs, I don't give a shit about the season. I really couldn't care less. But now in the playoffs, look at down the centers. Okay, we have Matthews. Matthews is capable of playing both ends of the ice. We look at Tavares. Tavares is capable of playing both ends of the ice. We look at Camp. Camp is very capable of playing, especially defensive. Jason Spezza, he's very capable. And it's like, okay, you look at the Oilers. Connor McDavid is by far the best offensive player I have ever seen in the NHL.
Yeah.
Call me biased, whatever you want. I would rather have Matthews on my team.
No chance.
And let me
man.
explain.
Sorry
No,
about that.
I understand. I fine. I totally agree. Like, that's cool. But here's my explanation. If you're in the offensive zone, I'd rather have McDavid. But again, it's a two-way game. Have you seen McDavid in his own end? And I'm not saying he's paid to play defense. Of course not.
He's right
But
though. He is right though.
Yeah, but I mean,
in the playoffs, bro, why do you think the Oilers go out like this?
lack of
Because they
goaltending
have
and
two
defense.
players. No, they
Yeah.
have two players.
Well,
They have
And
two
when those two
players.
players don't show up, it's over. It's
Yeah,
I mean,
over.
you have no depth offensively.
well, the Oilers have more than two players. I know we're not talking about the Oilers here, but I mean,
No, they
Nugent
don't.
Hopkins, is another player
No.
that they have that's good. And Evander Kane, who they just added, is great.
No.
We'll see what
I-
happens
no.
this year. We'll see what
No, bro,
happens this year.
I guarantee you, go and look at the Oilers games this season and tell me how many games it takes to find 10 consecutive goals without, or sorry, not even consecutive, 10 goals without either Draisaitl or McDavid involved. It's going to take you a while. Like, it'll
He's
probably
right.
take you
Yeah, I mean,
3 games.
that's true. It's
That's
true.
a fact.
But in that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, they're a two-way team. It's like, sure, they have NHL players on their team. I hope so. They're an NHL team. However, everyone has a Hopkins on their team. Like Hopkins, he's a good player, but like every second line center is supposed to be good. I don't consider that depth. I consider
Yes.
like
He's true.
having. I won't. You know what? I won't even take Toronto. Let's take another team. Let's take Tampa. Point, Kucherov, Chiarelli. Like Chiarelli's a hell of a fucking player. Nugent Hopkins. It's like look at his points. First of all, take out the points that go on the power play because those are handoffs from McDavid and Draisaitl. No disrespect to Hopkins. And then look how many goals he has compared to points. It's very like
Well, I mean, you could
dragged
argue
out.
he was a good player before McDavid or Draisaitl joined the team.
My whole
I mean,
point is that
then
he's
again, he
good.
had Taylor Hall, but still.
He's good, but every second line center is good. Now
Yeah.
it's like I don't consider having just because you signed an NHL player to a contract, I don't call that depth. Because when I look at the Oilers, if you can stop McDavid and Draisaitl, you've just defeated the Edmonton Oilers. I don't care who the
When-
team is playing;
My
it doesn't matter.
When comparing both teams, I would, in terms of like who goes further in the playoffs, easily Toronto. They're more well-rounded on defense, offense, and goaltending.
Finally, this year. In the previous years, Toronto was like the Eastern version of Oilers. This year, the biggest difference is that third line. Like no one, again, casual fans don't give a shit. They look at Matthews, Marner, Nylander. How are they doing? They're scoring.
There's
Nice.
many of those
Moving
around
on.
the NHL, unfortunately.
Matthews, no. There's very like there's name me. I'll wait.
No,
Name
no,
me
I'm
three.
talking about fans, casual fans. I don't
Oh
look at
yeah,
the
yeah,
facts.
yeah. No, for sure, and that's why someone like David Camp. And you know what? I'm gonna say this, and a lot of Leaf fans watching this, and a lot of fans watching this are gonna hate it. Trading Mitch Marner would be the worst thing that Toronto could do, and I'll
Remember they traded him
explain.
for Seth Jones last offseason, which I thought was a horrible
Wait,
idea.
you say people are gonna hate you for saying Mitch Marner is
Yep,
the worst.
you would be surprised how many
What?
people in Toronto cannot
bro,
stand. Yep.
Leaf fans don't like the guy. Like
Are you
No, I
kidding
love
me?
him. I love him. I've
My,
met
Hey,
a
him.
lot
listen,
of them. I know a lot
Listen,
of them.
if they're giving him away for free, I mean, we're willing to have him. But no, I mean,
But
listen.
okay, no, okay. Oh my God, we trade Marner for a defenseman. All right, who?
Seth
Not
Jones.
happening. Kale McCarr, not happening. Adam Fox, not happening. The list falls off.
Yeah,
Who are you
chicken.
gonna get for Marner?
Could have traded.
Yeah.
For Marner? For Marner?
Just
No.
One for
I
one for
would-
one, I would never do that though.
Fucking
Thank you.
chance. I'm saying one for one. Everyone's like, trade Marner for defenseman. Okay, who?
Quinn Hughes. I'm
Conversation
joking.
goes no chance.
Fuck.
But that's the problem with most fan bases. They're quick.
I'm
to pull the
surprised.
trigger.
I would rather trade Nylander than Marner.
No, but it's
And
like
anyone would.
people are looking at the contract. It's like, okay, you want to trade him? Who are we gonna get? Who are we gonna get that's gonna make our team better? You can trade him and make our team fucking garbage. You can trade him though, go for it. But who are you gonna trade for Marner? That's a defenseman, and you're gonna get something to fill his. Who?
No, exactly.
There's no answer to that question. It's right
Yeah.
now. That's what we have. Are we overstacked on offense and under on defense? Of course. However, what we have right now with the players that we have, they've shown this year that defensively, I'm not saying they're perfect. They're far from it, but they're a lot better than they were last year. A lot
Let
better.
me-
I've never seen Leafs win this many one-goal games without blowing leads. They've blown. They had a spurt of like 2 weeks where they constantly blew a 3-goal lead. Besides that, like yesterday,
the
clean
Canadian-
game.
Yeah.
Let me-
I mean, in the Canadian market, and this is a big problem for every single Canadian team that's been competitive for the last decade, maybe even 20 years, even since the beginning. The problem is that people are quick to judge when things are going wrong, but when things are going right, people don't praise those players and what they're
Well-
being able to do on that team and being part of that success. When things go wrong, okay, let's try to find that one guy to pick on. And in Toronto's case, the one guy they always pick on is always Marner, especially during the
But
playoffs.
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad
It's-
because if you're getting paid $11 million to do that, I don't feel bad. However, if Marner was 30 years old, that's a different story. Marner's 24. People don't see that. Matthews
Yeah.
is 24. People don't see that. Like 24
Yeah,
years
they're not
old
even
is
in their
not
prime
old,
yet.
bro. But they
That's
look
it.
like they are. Like they really look like they are, but they're only getting better. That's what people are like. $11 million is so shit for Matthews and Marner.
To
Look at
steal,
the
actually.
progression of both of them. Now it looks like shit. But how long was the contract? 5 years? Look in 2025, the contract. Seth Jones got a $9.5 million contract. That guy's a fucking cone. I watched
Yeah.
in real life. Bro, he is
It's true.
bad.
He's right.
He is not good. Like, not good. 9.5 other. Who else got it? Charlie
Didn't
McAvoy.
Makar get it?
9.5.
Didn't Makar get it?
Sorry, Makar deserves it. That guy's once
Yeah.
Hedman leaves the NHL, Makar is the best defenseman in the league.
Yeah.
Like not defensively necessarily as much, but easily the best in the league. But it's like people like obviously in Toronto we want everything now because our past has been horrendous. But it's like, why would you trade someone like that? Who are you gonna get that would make our team better for the next 5 years? Who? There's not a player right now.
No.
At least there ain't one. Nate,
And
find
the
me a trade.
NHL is
I'll
not like the NBA where like a big blockbuster deal is gonna happen.
In the NBA, they
Yeah.
happen every 3 seconds.
So
Yeah.
like in terms of getting this blockbuster hockey deal done 1-for-1 and getting
Won't
a
happen.
defenseman that's on par with Matthews, with Marner, that's never gonna happen. And
See,
Leaf
but they
fans
want
need to realize that.
they want the best of both worlds. Do you think if we trade Marner and get a defenseman that we're gonna keep scoring the goals we're scoring? Fuck no, dude. No chance. Toronto is good because we have two lines and everyone's like Marner sucks defensively. Marner's a fucking top NHL penalty killer.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Forget last year's series. It was horrible. He choked. He was terrible, bad, garbage, all of the whole spiel. I agree. He was the worst Leaf in terms of like ratio to salary to how good. Garbage. You don't trade a guy at 24 years old who has that much upside and who cares that much about being on the team. You don't.
Well,
You do not.
One thing I want to ask you, and I'm very curious to know your prediction on this. This going into and I know that we don't know the playoff matchup, so it's kind of hard for you to predict it. But I'm saying going into this season, do you think the Leafs at least get past round one, regardless of who they play?
Is it a cup or a bust?
Yeah, this is our final question essentially.
Basically,
You want me to be honest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
be
You want me to
honest.
be honest? I think I think their run is gonna correlate to the Caps. Their demon was the Penguins. They couldn't do it until they beat the Penguins and then they won the cup. I think if the Leafs get past the first round, why not them? Now that we
Yeah.
got that joke over with and we won round one, why not us?
They're just gonna.
I'm not saying
the
it's gonna
ball's
be easy.
keep
I'm
on
not saying
rolling
we're gonna
after that.
demolish every team we play. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. I think three out of the 4 series, if the Leafs win the cup, is gonna go to 7 games.
Yeah.
But I think once they take the monkey of the first round and go like this,
Yeah,
have fun stopping Matthews, have fun stopping Marner,
I totally
have
agree.
like best of luck. I wish you the best.
It's
And
confident.
Yeah,
it's all look at the Habs, bro. You're telling
Yeah.
they
me
took
the
off. They
Habs
took off.
had even a remote of a shot against Vegas? They beat them in 5.
6 actually.
No one
6,
here. It was 6.
No, it was 6. It was 6.
6 or 6.
Yeah, it was 6.
Like Habs beating Vegas, like just that alone, like the money line on that must have been like through the roof. It must have been like you
Everyone
put in
laughed.
$1, you get back a house. Like it's
Everyone laughed when the House played Vegas. They're like, "You're done in 5. You're done."
I
in 4."
called it. I said we were winning
But
it. I think
realistically-
last year was my best bracket challenge year.
But
But you know why the Habs won, right? Because
Carey
that's what
Price.
happens when you play with nothing to lose. The Habs
Yeah.
had nothing to lose. You get out in the first round, you weren't supposed to be there
yeah, I
anyway.
agree with that.
You get
And-
out in
and
the
I
second
think-
round, you won a round.
And I think if
Like-
Toronto gets over the hump this year and they do pass the first round, like you
What
said,
are people
anything's
gonna say now?
possible, and that's going to give a lot of confidence not only to the players but also the coaching staff. And I think they're going to come together and they're gonna that killer instinct you were talking about. I think they're going to gain that killer instinct, and the only
know what
thing
it
they're
is?
going to want to do is just win.
So all the fans look at this team. We're like, all right, we got line 1, line 2, line 3. And we're all looking at this team like, what the fuck can we change for this to not happen again? Like, what can we do? And we all know the answer. They're like, we don't need it. Like, it's not the play. Like, people are like, oh, but we need this player and that player. It's like, yo, if you think getting a different player is going to solve the Leafs, you are so wrong. I apologize. Like, you're not in the right place. So, like, it's not a player. It's not a trade that's going to fix Toronto. Fixing Toronto is when the players realize, like, we can fucking do this. Just win. Like,
It's
them.
the
It's kinda
locker
like they
room
need
as a
to
whole. One
realize
player doesn't make a difference. It takes a whole team.
it's not like, again, I said this and it was even in the interview on my thing with Toronto Star. It's like Toronto is not a normal team. Like Toronto, all the players on paper, on everything, you look at it, they're just like any other playoff competing team. They're
Yeah.
stacked in one area, a bit handicap in another, and average on the third. Toronto's goaltending is Toronto's defense average. Toronto's offense fucking insane. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Why change anything? Like, I didn't see Montreal do anything last year. I didn't see Vegas do anything last year. It's because it's Toronto. So once you get past the first round, it's like, oh shit, okay, we did it. All right. Next round, I guess. Like
It's a
it
mental game for them,
all of it.
essentially.
And it goes back to the thing of the trigger. It's like, this is a fucked up comparison, but okay, let me not use a gun example because like I could
Yeah, it was pretty violent the first time.
no, but it was just like that was really just to get the point across. Like I'm sure like if
Yeah,
like, okay,
fine.
so you get on the ice,
Yeah.
right? You get on the ice, okay? Skate forward, no problem. All right, turn around, skate backwards. What? How? I don't know how to do that. Okay, the first time you do it, you're gonna fall. No, it's gonna happen. Second time you're gonna do it, you're gonna fall. Third time you're gonna do it, you're gonna fall. But now in your head, you're like, fuck, I fall every time. But it's like, yeah, but you've only done it 3 times. So turn around and do it again. You're gonna eventually pull it off. And I'm talking about me when I was a kid. I didn't want to turn around and skate backwards. Now like I skate faster backwards than I do forward. And it's like
Yeah.
the same thing. It's like turn around, skate backwards, you fall, get up, do it again. You've got up 4 times now. Now this year you're gonna get it done. Like go. And then once you do that, you think other teams are not going to get injuries in the play? Everyone talking about Florida like they're going to go win a Stanley Cup or something. Yo, Florida is literally a less relevant version of the Leafs. They haven't won a round in 20 years either. No one's talking about that.
That's true.
Everyone's looking
Like,
at the players that they added, like
but it's
Giroux,
because
Sherratt,
no one gives a shit about Florida. That's the truth. No one cares. Not a
Is
person
what?
cares. If Florida gets swept in round 1, no one gives a shit. Not a person. You
I
don't
think
give a
this
shit.
year
I don't
they'll
give a shit.
I think this year they'll care more because I think Florida.
No, like
it's-
people are gonna laugh, but no one cares.
Yeah,
Next year we'll
that's-
move on. They're not gonna talk about the year before Florida. Like you're not gonna go and fucking talk shit to a Florida fan because you're gonna have a hard time finding one. Like no one's gonna. You know what I mean? Like it's no insult to them. It's like Florida hockey is
the
not
fan
the sport.
base, the problem. And I
Florida,
think that's what Bill Zito's trying to build in Florida. He's trying to
he's doing a
become.
great job.
Yeah, I think he's a top 5 GM currently in today's NHL. I think, like you were saying before, like try to find a fan, right? I think he's trying to establish a concrete fan base that's not composed of like literally Montreal Canadian fans that are there vacationing,
It's not gonna
for a
happen
couple
though.
of months or something. He's
You'll-
trying to build Florida into Florida's team. He's trying to top Tampa Bay, which I think is never
It
going to
won't
happen.
happen. Yo, even Tampa, bro. Like, yeah, they've won 2 cups in a row, but their fan base is not all that. Like, take away the last 2-3 years, like, when the fuck do you see Tampa fans? And it's not an insult. It's that those are just the general hockey teams. Like now they're popping because they're good. You
Yeah.
go to teams like Nashville, fair, like they're a hockey city, like. But what I'm
Arizona.
trying to say is like Toronto. No, they're fucking irrelevant. But Toronto, Montreal, Boston, like original 6 teams. Like
wait.
those are teams who have like it's kind of like look in the NFL, right? You look at
Yeah,
teams like the
there's
Dallas
history
Cowboys.
behind it.
Like
Dallas
history,
Cowboys,
that's-
Steelers, Eagles. Yeah.
Here's what I want people to understand is like if the Florida Panthers win a round, there's a little 16-year-old kid who lives there who gives a shit, his dad and a few family members of the players. Okay, nice, the locals. If Toronto wins a round, I give a shit, my dad gives a shit, my grandfather gives a shit. Generations are like watching, like it's because it's so built up, like it's
Yeah.
I guarantee if the Leafs win a cup, the parade is going to be bigger than what the Raptors did. Like, like
100%.
you're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
like
for sure.
countrywide
For sure.
celebration.
The
But you don't
Raptors
think-
only came into the 90s. Toronto's been
But that's
there
my
for
point.
almost 100 years.
But
And,
wait,
like- Yeah.
you said before that Arizona was irrelevant, but isn't Matthews going there after his contract's over?
Oh.
You're telling me if Matthews,
That's a joke. It's a
Matthews ain't gonna play in a high school arena, bro. Matthews ain't playing in a high school arena, bro. I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't know,
guys,
it's just 'cause I heard Arizona fans say that Matthews is going to leave Toronto.
They're probably gonna relocate
Yeah.
by the time he has to get.
Well, guys,
But
I think-
I don't think Matthews would ever leave. I don't think he would leave Toronto. I personally don't. Why would you want to? I mean, regardless of
To answer your question from the beginning, I'm gonna regret saying this.
just say it.
Cup.
Everyone's waiting.
Oh, he's calling them cup. Calling Cup
Be,
contenders.
like
Calling
it's
Cup.
it's either it's cup or literal bust. It's either you're out in the first round or they're going for it. That's the way I see
And
it.
we definitely will see changes on Toronto's side in terms of management and maybe even players if they do lose this year. So I think we could all agree that
It's not an
if they
option.
get over the first round, and if they get past the first round, they get over that hump. Uh, we could all
They
agree
could
that
go
it's
all
all
the way.
cup for the most
Yeah,
part.
they could go all
If
the
they
way.
don't, then it's bust.
My question is, if I won't go as far as saying cup, what I will say is, if we get past the first round, why not us?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
they
now
have
that the
nothing to
first round's out of
lose.
the way, why not us?
They have nothing to
Because-
lose. They know that things are gonna be changes are
They have a
coming
lot to
if they
lose.
do lose.
Should
have a lot to
should I
lose, but
make a
I'm-
mystic Chris prediction?
Let's hear it before
Usually
we
they,
end this
they, they,
episode.
they usually happen. They usually happen. I think it's gonna be depending on how it's structured. I'd like to see the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Calgary Flames. That's what I think the final.
Hey, an all Canada final.
Battle of Canada. That's what I'm
It won't
hoping
happen.
for.
We always
I-
say that. We always Canadians
Listen,
always make up that
I
that,
think
that
it's gonna happen.
fiction
We'll
all the
see.
time, that dream sequence where like two
I would
Canadian
love
teams are
to.
gonna battle it out.
Not
But
complaining.
that's
Look,
not gonna happen.
I just want a playoff. I just want a playoff situation where it's the Battle of Alberta on one side and then Boston, Toronto on the other side.
Yeah, that would
Guys,
be
how about
awesome.
this? How about this? We are March 28th or 29th,
Yes.
right? 28th.
28.
Let's do a pre-playoff pod,
Oh,
and then
Sure.
we'll get in our predictions.
I'm down.
Okay.
That would be cool. All right.
Okay.
So you want to
Perfect.
do that now? Let's do that live. We can do that.
No, we're gonna wait
I don't
till
know about
all
live.
the stats
We're
are
gonna
there.
have to see for the
Nah,
stats.
why would we do it now when nothing's even solidified? But
No, you
we
don't
just
do it
wanted
now.
to say, I guess we're gonna do this again. So thanks for mentioning that. But we just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on our episode today. We kicked off the new series with you, a big name essentially. We also want to congratulate you in terms of your success. We've been following
you.
you for a couple of years now. Especially some of us that went to high school with you. So it's great to see somebody from our high school essentially give us a good name in terms of success.
And
Luca
obviously,
knows. Luca knows because ever since I was in grade 1, with I had one tooth here, I already was talking
Yeah.
about this.
this guy would walk around. He'd be the only guy in school with a Leafs hat or a Leafs jersey on or merch on, and everyone would look at him and be like, "What the hell's going on here?" But he was from the beginning. He was passionate about it, and I respect that. It's hard to be a Leaf fan in Montreal. It is.
Well, what do you want me to give up now? It's like, what do I have to do? I've already watched
Well,
17 years of nothing.
Late now.
I mean, you can always switch teams. I don't know. You never know.
Happening.
People hop on bandwagons all the
If you're
time.
in Montreal, we'd accept you, or Anaheim if you like that.
No,
if you like the
no.
Ducks.
There's one thing about being a Leafs fan. I'll end it on this note. Call it bittersweet. Once a Leaf, well, always a Leaf. It's not going to change. Never. I don't care how
I
bad.
respect that statement. Any
can't
fan
change.
that's willing to go through the shit to reach gold eventually. Nothing but respect with somebody that has the mentality. So
But
just wanted to
man,
say thank you so much again for coming. Also, everyone that checked out our video, thank you for the support. Thank you for showing support towards that Leafs fan. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and check out previous content that came out, and especially upcoming content in terms of our Cup of
Playoff
Us
pod.
series. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that too.
And
So-
we'll have him on soon again.
Soon.
So we'll see him soon.
Anyways,
Hopefully we'll
guys,
figure
we'll see you
something
in the
out.
next one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.